Welcome to Business Winners, a digital edition of Energy Salon XXI. My name is Olha Bosak. I'm CEO, board director, and advisor, a business lady working in energy sector. Now, in a time of a global crisis, I have set myself the task to identify, present, and connect those people who manage to survive in difficult times. I want us to share our ideas, insights, and innovations. I strongly believe that united efforts of energy business leaders can enhance the ability of our global energy community to influence main challenges of 21st century. Let me introduce you to an influential and energizing political leader who always seeks to create a significant impact on energy and environmental policy, Viola von Cramon. Member of the European Parliament and a former member of the German Parliament, Bundestag. Viola has been serving on Committee on Foreign Affairs. She's a member of the groups of the Greens, European Free Alliance. Viola, I'm more than happy to have a chance today to talk with you, actually in a time of the preparation of plans for a Europe recovery as a result of COVID-19 needs. EU Green Plan is often referred to as the Europe's recovery strategy. Could you please tell us a little bit more and in more detail about this new plan? So what are the main expectations of the European Parliament, and what do you suggest is the primarily goal that should be achieved in the nearest future?
Thanks a lot, Olga, for the invitation. Thanks a lot for having me and for introducing me with very kind words. I think that we have seen in several states a significant deterioration of the economy. What we have faced was in some member states, let's say, more problems with the health and medical system, and in some member states we see significant decreases in business terms. So I think it was good of working out and presenting an overall investment plan for the European Union, for the member states, and also for a transition phase of the economy. As you know, we were working on the European Green Deal plan, or the European Green Deal, already since last December. So the European Commission has presented its first draft in December last year, and then it came up with different, more specific parts or volumes of this plan, which was at the first hand the Just Transition Fund. It was a climate action plan, and it also covered, of course, circular economy, and so step by step the Commission proved that if we would like to, we as Europeans, as the members of the European Union, would like to become a climate neutral continent, it needs the strength and the ambitions from different angles. And energy is one of the, let's say, most imminent and most obvious sector to transform, but it's not the only one. But surely within the Corona crisis and the outstanding problems of the climate change, we have to use this money, which we set up out now as an investment plan, mainly for transforming the energy sector, the energy supply, the sources, and also in case of Ukraine, of course, the dependency from some of the, let's say, external actors or external sources, that Ukraine will become more independent from gas, oil, but of course, mainly from coal. And so I do hope that parts of our recovery plan, of our Green New Deal, can support Ukraine while at least drafting a concept. So far, I have to admit, I'm still lacking any kind of, or I think Ukraine does lack any kind of concept, any kind of vision. But we could talk about this in a little bit more detail.
Viola, it is great to learn that EU cares not only about EU member states, but also such countries as Ukraine. Ukraine is still not a member of EU, but that's a strategic goal of Ukraine to join the EU club. Thank you for your contribution in that regard as well. It is also great to learn that EU institutions support business and workers during the crisis. Actually, it's just already obvious that political, economical environment of EU will be changed, right? And talking about precisely about climate issues. So who shall lead the way, and how do you see the role of businesses? How businesses can contribute in tackling the threat of the climate emergency? So what is the business's role? So how do you see it? I mean,
well, I hope
and business, or parliament, or any EU institutions.
That we have to start in giving CO2 a price. And if we know what the price is, we can start out and elaborate the particular measures for this. If we know that production, for example, steel in Ukraine will double in the price, while if you would like to import your steel products to the domestic market, to the internal market of the European Union, but you're not competitive anymore since you have produced it mainly by coal, you have to start now to rethink how you're gonna clean up your energy supply so you are still competitive, either for the European internal market, but also, I mean, then on the global market, if we finally succeed with having a global approach to CO2 pricing. And of course, this applies to all the other products Ukraine normally exports to the European Union. While I see that, for example, agriculture is a big it's a big part of the export sector for sure. But concretely, I wish that we would see from the Ukrainian side how their plan looked like to really diminish this CO2 footprint. This applies for business, for companies, but also for households. This applies for the mobility sector. This applies for the heating sector. And you ask who is in the lead. Of course, on the EU side, in the lead, it's the Commission, but we as the Parliament, as the parliamentarians, have the opportunity to control, to have the budget responsibility. And also, I mean, we have very close exchange with people from the Commission. So this is also very easy to influence and to also the ideas, to share ideas and new concept with the responsible people in the Commission. So after all, I would say that, of course, the Council, the head of states from the member states, they have to implement the draft laws and then the regulation from the European Union side. But we as parliamentarians have a significant role to play And we take this responsible role. In terms of money, of budget questions, so yesterday, for example, within the group, we spoke about especially climate questions in the recovery fund of the neighborhood of the Western Balkan. And we spoke about how to transform, for example, the coal industry in the Western Balkan. And we do the same with the Eastern Partnership countries. So, of course, we try to push the Commission to a more ambitious target, to more ambitious outlines, and also we hope that it will be a mandatory or obligatory way of working with the Ukrainian government in terms of targets and also in terms of compliance criteria.
Thank you, Viola. And definitely you as a politician have your very own expectations and requests to energy business leaders. How would you evaluate actions by businesses themselves talking about achievements at EU targets, climate targets, right? So what are your main messages, if you shall formulate, if you are talking to businesses right now? So what are your main messages to the business community in the context of the formation of the green economy?
Don't invest into fossils anymore. If you look at the birja, at the exchange market, I mean, you see the trend goes into renewables, the trend goes into new technology, digital technology, energy efficient technology. And I do hope that even if the Ukrainian government has not set up a really ambitious framework, political framework for you to work on, be smart, be clever, and invest into clean energy. Right now, renewable energy is the trend. Decentralized energy is the trend. We have to make sure that in the long run, Ukraine is competitive, even if we have, let's say, a relatively high CO2 price. And as a leader in the energy sector, you have to be aware of this, and you have to start transforming your energy supplies and sources now. So I could imagine that some of the, let's say, more oligarchy structures in Ukraine have danger, and this is surely not smart. In sun, wind, water, everything is for free. You can use this. Of course, the investment costs are there, but already after a few years, the amortization will be there. And you can have, I mean, we see that we deliver, or the sun produce energy delivers more than 30% of the electricity, at least in the German market. And so this is still increasing. Even our, let's say, political framework and the financial incentives are not as attractive as they have been in the past. But nevertheless, people understand it might be a good idea to invest into renewable, because this is the future. I mean, no, our kids, they won't live with coal anymore. They need to look for new technology. And we see that the prices for technology dropped significantly. Of course, this is also caused by Chinese and other, let's say, low price countries. But nevertheless, I see that we will also get some of the production back, that the design, the concept behind this is still in Europe, and we should really try to be, let's say, at the front of working on new and very effective renewable energy, on connecting. Connectivity is a big word. We have to include Ukraine, of course, into the energy market. I could imagine this would be also good to see a bigger push from the Ukrainian side that they want to be included. Yesterday, the Commission has presented their hydrogen strategy. I know there's also a big interest from the Ukrainian side to be included in the hydrogen strategy, but this must be also pronounced and proclaimed by the Ukrainian, either energy producers or also by the Ukrainian government. And I do see this is not sufficient openly, publicly announced. So on one side, of course, you have the domestic market. On the other side, you have to make sure you're really included in the European Energy Union or European energy market. And therefore, it needs to be more political pressure and more pressure from the energy companies. This would be my, let's say, hope and my demands for the Ukrainian side.
Viola, thank you very much for joining Wissenswieners. I'm Olha Bosak, this is Energy Salon XXI.